Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside the Rock of Chickamauga. This is a game designed by Herman Luttman, and it is published by Flying Pig Games. I know it's been a while since I've had some new stuff on the channel. I've been very busy, and I apologize for delaying getting stuff out. I did get this in a couple weeks ago. I've been trying to find time to sit down, unbox it for you, take a look inside and talk about it. Finally was able to squeeze a little bit of time in here, and that's what we're going to do now. Take a look inside the Rock of Chickamauga, which is the next in the Black Swan series from Herm Luttman. And if you've played A Most Fearful Sacrifice, you already know the system and you already know how great it's going to be. And it's by Flying Pig Games again, so you know it's going to be go big or go home, because that's what Flying Pig does. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. The Rock of Chickamauga is an immersive two-player war game that masterfully captures the chaos and intensity of the three-day Battle of Chickamauga, one of the most pivotal clashes of the American Civil War. Leveraging the acclaimed Black Swan ACW system, first introduced in the award-winning A Most Fearful Sacrifice, this game delivers a perfect blend of strategic depth and accessibility, staying true to the essence of war's unpredictable nature. The Black Swan system, a close relative of the popular Blind Sword series, puts players in command of large-scale operations while prioritizing the critical elements of warfare: the fortunes of war, the friction of war, and the fog of war. This dynamic design keeps the action tense and thrilling, ensuring that no two battles ever unfold the same way. Success demands more than tactical acumen. Players must adapt to unforeseen circumstances and shifting battlefield conditions. Featuring 16 unique scenarios, the Rock of Chickamauga accommodates a range of playstyles. Engage in smaller focused skirmishes on a single section of the map, battle across a new middle map for mid-size engagements, or experience the full sweep of the three-day campaign on an expansive double map setup. Each scenario is meticulously crafted to challenge players' decision-making, simulating the pressures that historical commanders faced as they grappled with fate's hand. Whether you're a seasoned wargamer or a history enthusiast looking to explore the high stakes of 19th century warfare, the Rock of Chickamauga offers an unforgettable journey into the heart of the battle that nearly altered the course of the Civil War. You can see an example of the map and the counters right there, and then we have the component list here. The game comes with a full-color rulebook, full-color scenario book, 2 hard-matted maps, which total 15 square feet. Yes, this thing is a beast. If you're going to play the campaign, you'll need a lot of table space. Otherwise, you can play the majority of the game on just a single map. You get 5 sheets of counters, 99 cards, 3 player aids, 7 command displays, and 6 dice. It is for ages 15 and up, 2 players, although 4 can play the larger scenarios, and the playing time is from 1 hour to 3 days. So let's take a look inside and see what we get. All right, we've got a pack of dice sealed for freshness. Couple decks of cards. Looks like we have our rule book, scenario book, player aids, all in this nice little plastic bag. Counter sheets, shrink wrap for you, and the bulk of this box is for these gigantic, beautifully done mounted maps, as you can see here. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the first map. We're going to look at both maps separately. There are actually 3 maps in this game, which you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute, but don't have the table space or the focal length to be able to show the entire thing together, so we're going to look at one map at a time. Remember, A Most Fearful Sacrifice was done by Rick Barber. This map is done by Jose Fara, and he did a fantastic job of emulating Rick's style, but making the map his own, which really is a great tribute to Rick's map making skills. And it's just an absolutely beautiful map, just like we saw with The Most Fearful Sacrifice. This is the same style of map. We start off the top here with Missionary Ridge and the top left, and then down the right we've got Chickamauga Creek. Throughout the rest of it, we've got varying degrees of woods. We've got partial woods, we've got heavy woods or dense woods in this game. We've got major lanes, we've got farmhouses, towns, ditches, slope sides. We got steep hex sides here, steep slope hex sides. A lot of different terrain here in this map. And the thing is, just like with the Battle of Chickamauga, there was a lot of woods that you were fighting through. So a lot of the fighting is going to have to be very close. There's going to be a lot of hand-to-hand and close combat. So with this terrain, it's definitely going to make an interesting tactical problem to solve as you play the game. And here's a look at the second map that comes with the game. This is the southern portion of the map. The other is the northern portion. And we've got a little bit more maneuver room here as far as open areas, but you still have a lot of hills as well as all of the dense and light woods to battle through. So it's going to be a really interesting tactical problem to solve with this one. Everyone's talked about the 15 square foot of space that these maps take up when you put both of them together. And it's a lot of space. That's only for the campaign, and for some scenarios you will need both maps. But you only use sections of the maps. And even when you have a one map scenario, you're only using a portion of it. You're not going to be using the entire map for the entire scenario. So what Flying Pig did was they gave a solution. Instead of having to find the table space to put the two maps together to only use a portion of it, they've got a middle map that you can use. That's the one we're going to take a look at next. On the back of that second map we were just looking at is the middle map section. And this is going to be used in place of putting the two map sections together and using just a portion of the overall big giant map. So now that problem is solved by using this map. And again, you're not even going to be using the entire map for some of those scenarios. You're going to be using only a portion of it. So that solves a lot of the problems people were worried about when it came to table space. I think it's a fantastic way of being able to give you the option of playing either with the two maps or with the smaller map here, just by using a single map, because not everybody has a big table space to be able to set up both maps, but you want to play those scenarios. This allows you to do that without taking up a ton of table space. So it's a fantastic option from Flying Pig Games. Next, we'll take a look at the player aids that come with the game. These are foldouts. On the left-hand side on the first one, we get the sequence of play, listing out all the steps from the sequence of play for you. On the right-hand side, we have the command table results, orders, rally, break test, panic test, entrenchments, unit support, skirmish order, overnight turns, and bivouac. On the back, we have the terrain effects chart listing out all the different types of terrain as well as graphical representations of the different types of terrain on the map. On the table, we get the movement point cost, stacking limit, fire combat shifts, attacker assault combat shifts, and defender assault combat shifts, as well as any special notes for that type of terrain. Below that, we have other movement situations such as disengagement, minimum movement, skirmish screen withdrawal, and withdrawal before combat. On the next player aid card, we've got the combat results table, fire combat ranges, fire combat column shifts, assault combat column shifts, fire combat cohesion test, and the assault combat results matrix, as well as the combat results codes explained to you at the bottom right. On the back, we have the close fight resolution table on the left and the combat event table on the right. Then we have the orders of battle for the Army of Tennessee and the Army of the Cumberland, as well as a turn track and victory point track at the bottom, because we do have a turn track and victory point track on the southern section of the map as well as the middle section, but the northern section does not have that, so you'll be using this card when you're using the northern section. Then on the back, we have the scenario setup guide. These tables will tell you the corps and divisions that will be involved in each of the scenarios in the game. And lastly, we'll take a look at the command displays. First up are the Union displays, Thomas's 14th Corps, Crittenden's 21st Corps, and Granger's Reserve Corps. Then we have McCook's 20th Corps and Mitchell's Cavalry Corps. On to the Confederate forces, we have Buckner's Corps and Hood's Corps, both Polk's and Hill's Corps, Forrest's and Wheeler's Cavalry Corps, and finally, Walker's Reserve Corps. Next, we'll take a look at the activation cards and the event cards that come with the game. First up are the Union cards. We have a CIC activation here on the left card, and these other two are the Corps activation cards. Below that, we have the event cards. In this scenario setup, it will tell you which CIC and which Corps activation cards you'll be using, as well as how many event cards. And then if any special cards are going to be removed, it'll tell you that during the setup. When it comes to the CIC activation, when you draw that, you're going to hold on to it and you're going to use it for one of the special activations you get on the card. As it says here, it says hold the card and conduct one of the following two CIC actions. Before a new card is drawn, roll a die. On a 1 and 2, activate any one brigade. On a 3 through 6, activate any one division. Immediately after any card is drawn for either side, you may instead have that card placed at the bottom of the draw deck and a new card being drawn. So this is what that CIC activation card gives you as far as flexibility. When it comes to the Corps activation cards, you're going to see the leader's name at the top. We have Thomas and Mitchell for the Union forces. Below that, we have the Corps name, 14th Corps for Thomas, and the Cavalry Corps for Mitchell. Below that, you see the leader's command rating. For Thomas, it's superior, and for Mitchell, it is average. And on the Corps activation cards below that, you're going to have the order of the different divisions that are going to be activated. We're going to take a look at the division card with the Confederate cards here in a moment. I just wanted to put out the Corps activation and CIC activation for the Union at the top here. Below that, we have the event cards for the Union, and we've got friendly fire, play immediately. Choose any rebel unit adjacent to another rebel unit, and both are in thick woods or full woods hexes. The chosen rebel unit is given an immediate shaken result applied normally. Low ammo, hold. Play before any rebel unit issues a fire combat. Apply a 2-column shift left for that fire. Bushwhacked. You have choose one. Play immediately after a Union unit moves adjacent to a rebel unit and both units are in thick woods or full woods. The Union unit does not suffer defensive fire and gets a 1-column shift right in assault combat if it conducts an assault combat attack this activation. The other option is play immediately after a rebel unit moves adjacent to a Union unit and both units are in thick woods or full woods. The Union unit issues defensive fire with a 1-column shift right and may do so even if it is adjacent to another rebel unit. So you can see how this is going to change the rules of the game and maybe get things in your favor, or they can even work against you. That's the fortunes of war. And we take a look at the Confederate cards, and we have the same thing we saw before with the Union, except now we have the division activation out there. Remember, the Corps activation will tell you the priority of the divisions. The divisions will tell you the priority of the brigades, how many can move and at what priority. For the CIC activation, we have brag here for the Confederates. It says hold card and conduct one of the following 2 CIC actions before a new card is drawn. Activate any 1 brigade with any order. Activate 1 division with any order except as follows. If from Hill's Corps, decrease command table die roll by 2. If from Polk's Corps on the 19th or any right-wing corps on the 20th, decrease command table die roll by 1. For the events at the bottom, we've got 3 different ones here. The Colonel is down, play immediately. It says play this event on any Union unit. The Union player must roll a die against the cohesion rating of that unit. Die roll is equal to or less than a cohesion roll, no effect. Die roll is greater than a cohesion roll, apply a shaken result. Then we have Rebel Yell. Play before a new card is drawn. Pick any 1 hex containing 1 or more rebel infantry units. You may immediately move any or all such infantry units up to 1 hex, providing they enter a hex adjacent to a Union-occupied hex. They are not forced to move if already adjacent, and they suffer normal defensive fire if moved. These units must then conduct an assault combat attack if eligible. Then it says below that, units from Law's or Kershaw's division increase their cohesion rating by 1 and receive a 1-column shift right on the CRT through any breakthrough move. All other units receive only 1-column shift right on the CRT. Last one over here on the right is Rally Round the Flag. Play immediately. Choose 1. Pick a hex with 1 or more shaken units in it. If not a thick or full woods hex, remove all shaken markers. If a thick or full woods hex, each unit rolls a die against its modified cohesion rating. Die roll is equal to or less than a cohesion rating, remove the shaken marker. If it's greater than the cohesion rating, it remains shaken. Or, select a hex with 1 or more battle-worn rebel units in it that is a clear or partial woods hex only. Thick and full woods hexes are ineligible. For each such unit, roll a die against its modified cohesion rating. Die roll of equal to or less than, you flip the unit to its fresh side, keeping the marker if it's a shaken unit. The die roll is greater than the cohesion rating, unit remains battle-worn. Battle-worn is going to be the step-loss side, essentially, of the fresh counter. Then the other 2 types of cards that can be drawn during the game are the Friction of War and the Fog of War card. Friction of War card says here, if the next card drawn is an event, CIC, or Fog of War card, cancel it with no effect. If the next card drawn is a Corps activation card, the command table die roll result is automatically a 1. So this is how it's going to change things up for the Friction of War. Then for the Fog of War, you're going to roll some dice and you're going to carry out whatever the die roll is over on this table. For example, you get a 23 to a 32, Wayward Union movement. Choose a Union unit and move it 1 hex. 55 through 62, Rebel strategic option. forced march, unexpected delay, or a clever feint. So you can see how these two cards are going to change things up every time you play. Next, we'll take a look at the counter sheets that come with the game. First up, we have the Union forces on this first sheet, all in the traditional Union blue. And each of the counters is broken down with the same type of information across the board. At the top, you have a color-coded banner. And in that banner, you're going to see three distinct pieces of information. Starting from left to right, we've got the corps affiliation. In the middle, we have the brigade name. And to the right-hand side, we have the division code. Below that, you're going to see different numbers of stars. This one here, this division artillery, has 3 stars. That's going to let you know the number of counters with that unit. Same for the ones above it, you have 3, and then up here you've got Campbell, he's only got 2. The bottom 2 numbers on the left-hand side is going to be your strength point. To the right is going to be your cohesion rating. These are great size counters, very easy to read. All the information is right there for you. On the next sheet, we have the balance of the Union forces. Then we start off with the Confederate forces. And unlike what we saw in the Most Fearful Sacrifice here, we're back to the traditional gray counters for the Confederate forces. Remember, in the original one, the counters were butternut. Apparently, some people didn't like that, even though that is historically accurate. They wanted to go back to the traditional blue and gray, and that's why we've got the gray. But the units themselves on the counter are in the butternut uniforms. The next sheet has more Confederate forces. Then we have the remainder of the Confederate forces along with some Union stragglers. And then we have the shaken workers. And one thing that might pop out at you right now are the dark blue uniforms on some of these Confederate forces. And that was when Longstreet was headed to Georgia. He picked up some new uniforms and they were made in England and they were dark blue in appearance, which definitely played havoc with the Union forces on the battlefield. I love how they added that into the counters so that way you get a feel for the confusion that the Union felt. And then on the final counter sheet, we have the remainder of the administrative counters for use in the game. Next, we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 31-page full-color rulebook. Inside of the front cover, we have a blurb on the battle, and then we have the table of contents listing out all the different rule sections and their associated page numbers. And we start off with the game component breakdown, explaining to you how to read the counters, which we've already looked at with all the counter sheets, your administrative counters, as well as how to use your cards and how those are all used in the game. Then we get to the sequence of play on page 6, and it's going to walk you through each step of the sequence of play. Advance your game turn marker phase, command decision phase, preliminary bombardment phase. You have examples in these orange call-out boxes, then we've got some notes in these tan call-out boxes, so you can follow along and understand what they're explaining to you as you go. It's going to be in sequence. Draw card phase, activation phase and all your steps, fire combat, and then we have LOS notes. That's going to be in a little bit different color box because line of sight's always a difficult thing to deal with in these games where you have tactical combat and you need line of sight. All the steps for your fire combat, and then of course one of my favorite parts of fire combat in this series is the skedaddling. I just love the name of that rule. I think it's just great. Then we have an illustrated example here. Get into movement. More illustrated examples now. Assault combat. Optional rule here in yellow. More illustrated examples, and we get to rally, the end phase, entrenchments, the overnight game turns, then the skirmish order, victory determination. Then we get to the comprehensive example of play on page 28. So really, the rules start halfway through page 6 and it goes to page 27. So as you can see, not a dense rule set. Should be pretty easy to grok, and it's a pretty straightforward game to play through, and it's laid out in a really easy to follow, logical manner. And you're going to get the illustrated examples along with this as you're watching your example of play here. Card draw phase, then we get to the end phase, and then we're at the credits, and then we are at the back of the rule book. And lastly, we have the scenario book. I'm not going to go through every single page of it because it's 55 pages, but we're going to flip through it because you don't need to look at all the individual parts of the scenario book because it's going to list out all the different scenarios. We're not going to go through that, but we start off with scenario 1, get there furthest with the mostest. It's going to give you the Union setup, the Confederate setup, and then the Union and Confederate reinforcement schedules, the times that they come in, the scenario cards that you're going to be using, your starting command displays, and the special scenario rules all are going to be listed out for you here. and also the map section that you're going to be using and what part of the map you're going to be using. Remember, we talked about that before, about you've got 15 square foot of map, but you're not going to be using the entire thing for every scenario. This is going to show you what portion of the map you're going to be using. And we get scenario 2, an isolated brigade. And then this is a good example of what I talked about before. This scenario is going to use portions of both maps. What you can do, instead of putting both maps together, if you don't have the table space, instead you could use that third map, the middle map, to run this scenario. So that's an example of what we talked about when I showed you that third map. Then we have scenario 3, the very birds are fighting. Same type of thing. You can use that middle map. Scenario 4, broken mass of howling demons. Scenario 5, the ditch of death. Scenario 6, a cauldron of smoke and fire. Scenario 7, a dark and bloody fiasco. And like I said, you can see of the entire map that you're going to be using, this is going to be the area of the map you're going to be fighting in. Scenario 8, Old MacDonald had a farm. Love these scenario names. And scenario 9, the fateful order. And scenario 10, Longstreet attacks. Scenario 11, no, charge as you are. Scenario 12, I never saw a better fighting. Scenario 13, this terrible sound. And you see the amount of units are going to be ramping up considerably. Scenario 14, a barren victory. And this one, I'm trying to see if I can find where the map sides are on this. These are going to be using the entirety of both maps, so that's why you have such a large order of battle, and it's not showing you what portion of the map you're going to be using. You're going to be using both sections of the map for these scenarios. Then we have scenario 15, a desperate and bold movement. 16, the devil went down in Georgia. And that is the end of the scenarios. Then we have the Rock of Chickamauga designer's notes, countergraphic notes. Then we have the different flags used by the different units, manifests of infantry and cavalry regiments represented by each unit counter for both the Union and Confederates. And we have an ad for Pipe Creek, Meade's Last Stand. And then we are at the back of the scenario book where we get an ad for A Most Fearful Sacrifice. And that is a look at everything you get inside of The Rock of Chickamauga. This is a game designed by Herman Lettman, and it is published by Flying Pig Games. Well, once again, Flying Pig Games knocks it out of the park with a really beautiful game here. And this system has been very, very well received by ACW gamers, the Black Swan system. If you're not familiar with it, it's definitely something you should check out if you're in ACW games. If you're familiar with it and you missed out on the Kickstarter, get over to Flying Pig Games website right now and get your order in. Just a beautifully done game. Rick Barber did the maps for Most Fearful Sacrifice, which we talked about earlier. Jose Farah did a great job of emulating that and paying tribute to Rick's work and making the map his own. Just a fantastic job. All the artwork in this game is really top-notch. All of the components are top-notch. Everything is just really fantastically done. The system is really interesting because it's pretty streamlined, pretty straightforward. It's not super difficult to understand at all. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward to learn. The complexity comes into how the cards throw things off when it comes to activations and your fog of war, the friction of war, things like that, as it should, because you want things to change every time you play it. You don't want the battle to play out the same way every time, because, okay, I know I got to get to the center here, and he's going to go here, and I got to go here. That it might be fun for tournament play for some people, but that's min-maxing, and it gets boring really quick, in my opinion. I think it's better when you have cards that are added into the game to change things up, not being a card-driven game, but card-affected game. And that's what this happens here with this game, and I think it's fantastic. Again, Herm Lettman, a fantastic designer in his own right. Another great system from him, Black Swan system, and this thing is going to be around for a long period of time. I can't tell you how many battles they can do, and I know he's working on more, and I know everybody wants more, and it'll be great to see Flying Pig continue to run this line out. But like I said, if you haven't gotten your order in already, you didn't get it on the Kickstarter, get over to Flying Pig and get your order in right now. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out when I get some free time. Don't know when that's going to be, but when I do, this is definitely going to get out there on the table. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.